All right, everyone. So now that we've gone through what a chi-squared analysis is, let's run through some examples of how to run a chi-squared test, okay? So to do that, we're going to be using this Nom Nom snack box survey. I've covered the details behind this survey in a video above. So you should have this survey loaded into your Qualtrics account by now and the data loaded as well. Now, when we come here to data, and analysis, and after you've imported your data, make sure that it's all loaded here. And you have, it shows like 65 recorded responses. Make sure that all of that is set before clicking Stats IQ. So again, Stats IQ can be slow to update your data. If you make changes after loading Stats IQ, it's really slow to update. So make sure everything's loaded, set to go, and then click Stats IQ. And then it will load this up. It may take a couple minutes for you. But once it's loaded, it should look something like this. I've been running a couple tests on this one and cleared out some stuff. So I don't know if it'll look exactly like this, but it'll look something like this. So we can run our first analysis. So very similar to what we covered last week. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select two variables, all right? So we've already covered that with a chi-squared, you have your input variable, you have your output variable. They're both going to be categorical. So if you're ever asked what type of variables or which variables you would use for chi-squared, you want to make sure that they're both categories, okay? That they're both categorical variables. Now, to tell which variable should be your input and which one should be your output, that's going to be depending on what question you ask, okay? So sometimes it may be completely obvious what your input and output are. Like say, for instance, you work for a company and you want to know, okay, is there a relationship between the amount of negative news that's being posted about your company and your company's stock value, okay? So if you're looking at a relationship between those two and you want to know, okay, which one might impact the other, you might think, okay, negative news might impact our stock value. So we'd see negative news as kind of the input, or we're going to use it to see if it can predict our stock value. Sometimes it's going to be very kind of natural like that. Other times, though, it's going to be dependent on the question. So if I ask a question and I say, does the color of the surfboard impact whether or not the person purchased, yes or no? Okay, so we have two categories, the color of a surfboard and whether or not they purchased. And I'm asking, does one impact or predict or influence something else, some type of outcome, okay? So that outcome's always going to be your output. And the thing that I'm seeing, if it influences or predicts or impacts, that's your input. So we have this input and we want to see, okay, is there a relationship? Is there, theoretically at least, is this leading to some type of outcome? And you'll get a lot of practice running those, but always look for the clues in the question that we're asking. So for instance, if I wanted to ask with this data set, does video quality predict purchase behavior? So I'm going to have two variables. I'm going to have video quality, so I can select that, and purchase behavior. So I just select both of those. And then I have to decide from that question, what's my input and what's my output, okay? And you really need to understand that so that we can run this analysis correctly. If we have those two things swapped, and we have the input as our output and our output as our input, the results aren't going to display in a way that's going to be beneficial. You're not going to be able to answer the question, really. So let's take a look at this one, for instance. Okay, so I asked, does video quality impact or predict purchase behavior? And you should be able to tell, okay, based on that question, video quality, I'm seeing if it impacts or predicts purchase behavior. Purchase behavior is therefore the outcome, the output, and video quality is going to be my input. So the way we select what our input and our output is, it's all dependent on this key. Now, this key in Stats IQ, really what it means, actually, if you just hold your mouse there, it'll tell you that the key indicates which variable you want to test a relationship with all kinds of other variables. So if I wanted to select all of these, I could click relate, and it would see if any of these relate with video quality. All right, that's kind of the one I'm testing a relationship for. By default, Stats IQ is going to say that this key is for your output. If I ever wanted to change that, I could click this button, and it would change the key to be your input. All right. So let's go back to this original question. For this original question, we were saying purchase behavior would be our output in that case. So I put the key there. Let's just run it based on those default settings. So I'm going to click relate. Now what's cool is that it automatically ran a chi-square test because it knew that both variables were categories. And no matter what test we're going to run, as long as we have the data input correctly within Stats IQ, it's going to automatically run the right test for us. But it's important to know what a chi-squared is, so we're able to make judgments off the output. Okay, the output for each analysis that we will run in class is going to look different, so it's important that we kind of dig deep into each one. And what's nice is it's going to give me a nice little sentence here that tells me exactly what's going on. So it says there's no statistically significant relationship between purchase behavior and video quality. I can tell that video quality is my input here because it's up here and it has the arrow pointing over to purchase behavior. If I wanted to swap those, I could click this and they're swapped, and now video quality is my output and purchase behavior is my input. So that's great. Now, although we have this sentence here, I always like to know what's a p-value. It might say that a relationship is not significant, but the p-value is like 0.056 or something like that. And I would want to know, I wouldn't want to just go off this sentence. I want to know, okay, well, how close was it to being significant? And if you click here, it'll show the p-value there for you. So in this case, the p-value was 0.301. And if I scroll down here, it shows me how these counts are distributed. This is pretty much a crosstabs table, right? The real difference, some of you might be familiar with crosstabs. The main difference between a chi-square test and a crosstabs is that a chi-square test gives you a p-value. Crosstabs doesn't. So the chi-square is going to give us some more feedback to go off of. But if you look here, it says 57% of the high production videos, of those who saw the high production videos, purchased, and 71% of those that saw the casual vlog style videos purchased. Now you might think, okay, that seems like a big difference. It does. It seems like it could be a big difference, but p-values, they're taking a whole lot more into account than just differences, okay? It's taking how wide those differences are into account, but also the number of people in your sample, how spread out and varied are those differences. All those things are going to impact your p-value, or the likelihood that what we're seeing is due to chance. And so here we have a sample size of 65. Chi-squared, usually if you're running chi-squared, you want like a larger sample. I would almost double it if I really wanted to run this type of test here. But in this case, probably do that sample size. I'm not sure. We'd have to increase it to really make sure. But probably due to that, we see a p-value of 0.3, which again means, okay, yeah, there's some differences here, but there's a 30% likelihood that this relationship between these two variables is due to chance. And so we would just need to take that into account for our decision making. One other thing I wanted to point out, so if I had a question that asked, what percentage of those who saw the vlog casual style video purchased, you could easily find that here, 71.9. But if I had done this the wrong way, if I had swapped my input and output, look at this 71.9, and if I swap these, it doesn't appear anywhere here because these are displaying different answers. This is looking at the number of purchasers that were vlog, casual style, and the number of purchasers that were high production videos. Okay, so those are two different questions. The percentages are going to be different, and we're going to get a wrong answer if we don't have these displayed the right way. All right, now let's say that I wanted to test and see, okay, did any of these category variables have a relationship with video quality? But I still want to use video quality as my input. All right, so what I can do is I can put the key over here on video quality, and now I'm going to swap it so that the key, by pressing this, the key is now going to be my input. Okay. And I'm just going to go through, maybe I'll select these categories. And again, you can tell that these are categories because we have the little dots. If they're numbers, they're going to have a 1, 2, 3, or this bar chart. So now that I have those loaded, I have the key on video quality. I've switched it over so the arrow is pointing on the right. I can click relate, and it's going to run a test for each of those relationships. And what's nice is it's going to put the most significant ones on top. So I can see here that influencer type and video quality are related. That makes sense. And there we have macro and micro influencers. And looking here, of the videos with high production quality, 93% of those were macro. All right. Here I can look here. Here's my p-value, very low p-value. Now, what's also nice that I should bring up, just because this p-value is significant doesn't mean that everything below is going to be significant. All right. So I have to double check. And the way I can double check is with these arrows here. These arrows right here. So if there's any arrows, in this case, there's 3 sets of arrows. This tells us that it's very clearly statistically significant, okay? If there's 1 arrow, though, it still means it's significant, just not quite as significant. So if you're getting arrows, then what that's telling me is that this difference here is statistically significant. And look, I have them here as well. So this difference is statistically significant. So I could say that that there's a significantly more macro influencers who with high production videos than micro influencers with high production videos. Okay, and I could also say that there's significantly more micro influencers with casual vlog style than there are macro influencers with casual vlog style. But if I wanted to answer the question, okay, it seems like these proportions kind of differ between these two. It seems like there's a lot of macro influencers using high production videos, 93%, and that's a higher proportion than macro influencers using casual vlog style. Okay, this difference seems quite a bit different than the difference between these two. If I wanted to look at, okay, do the proportions between these two categories, do they also significantly differ? All I have to do is click here, okay? And I may have a question like, is there a significantly higher proportion of macro influencers using high production videos than macro influencers using casual videos? So if I was going with macro, I would want to make sure that this was on macro, not micro. It's going to be very similar since we only have 4 different cells here. They're going to look kind of identical, but it will make a difference in the future. So if I wanted to ask that question, do the proportions between these two significantly differ? I just look at these arrows, and if there's arrows there, then yes. The proportion of macro influencers using high production videos significantly differs from the proportion using casual vlog style videos. But I could say in this case, I think it'd make more sense if I wanted to swap these and say like, okay, do different influencer types use different video quality? That seems like a more natural way to ask this question. If I was to ask it for you, that's probably how I'd approach it. And so here we see 88% of micro influencers use casual, significant, and 35.4% of macro influencers use casual. And we have the arrows there, that's all significant. If you notice, this p-value stays the same. It's always going to stay the same no matter what my input or output is. It's just looking at, in general, is there a relationship between these two variables? But we always want to dive down for more details there. Okay, I'm just going to swap that back for consistency. And look here, so there's also a statistical relationship between mention type and video quality. So mention type is whether the product being sponsored is like just kind of like a side mention, or if it's like, no, here's our sponsored product, and it's highly integrated in the video. And so we do have a significant p-value there. There's a relationship, and we see that of the high production videos, 36% were side mentions, which is interesting. And then of the casual vlog videos, 31% were side mentions. So it seems like if it's a high production video, it's more likely that the product was a side mention sponsorship than an integrated sponsorship. So that's an interesting finding. So looking here, there's no statistical significance between video quality and repeat purchase. That p-value, though, is getting pretty low. It's 0.166. It's something I would want to be mindful of. But yeah, so because this is not significant, we're not going to say that any of these differences here are significant, and we don't see the arrows anywhere there anyway. If I pop here and I look at video quality and click-through rate, whether they click through to the website, it's saying it's not significant, but it is marginally, though. That's why I always want to check p-values, because it's not quite below 0.05, but we're getting there. And so I can look here, and look, we have arrows, at least one arrow between these two. So this is telling me high production videos have a higher likelihood of being clicked through than not. But then this is the same case for casual vlog style videos. So that's interesting. But if I wanted to know, okay, it seems like a higher proportion click through with casual videos than high production videos. Yeah, they're more likely on both, but it seems like there's a higher proportion here than over here. So if I wanted to test that, I could go over here to the show pairwise comparison. We have the videos here, but I want to say, okay, for yes, is there a difference in the likelihood that they do click through? And here I do see these arrows, which is telling me, okay, there is a difference with how these are distributed, a significant difference. So I can tell that, yes, if it's a casual vlog, you're more likely to click through than if it's a high production video. So there's all kinds of ways to look at this, which can be a lot of fun. This first table will tell you, are there differences within this category and within this category? And then this table down here will tell you whether the proportions inside these two categories differ from each other. So there may have been an example here where, say, this was like 60% of those who saw the casual vlog clicked through. Okay, would that still be significant here? Would there be a higher proportion of those that clicked through than not for casual vlogs? Yeah, we'd probably still see it being significant here. But if this was only 60%, would the percentage of those who clicked through for casual vlog, would that significantly differ than the percentage of those who click through with high production? And the answer to that would probably be no. And if we came down here, we wouldn't have these arrows. It wouldn't be a significant difference between these two. Now I'm going to use influencer category as the key. Again, I have this swapped over to the right, so this is going to be my input. I want to see if influencer category predicts any of these. Click relate. Just fishing around for a couple more examples. Let's see how this works. This one here, I like this, will give us some good examples. Instead of just having 4 cells, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 cells. So we're going to be able to look at this in different ways, and it'll be fun. So this is looking at, does influencer category predict gender, what gender they were? And the sentence says, yes, it does. There is a statistically significant relationship. Click here. Here's our p-value, 0.006. Perfect. Now, again, just because this is significant doesn't mean that everything that we see down here is going to be significant. So for instance, right here, there's no arrows. So although it looks like there's a high proportion of male customers coming from a fitness influencer, this is not statistically significant. So there's a high likelihood that this difference is due to chance. So we're going to kind of treat it as a tie for now. We can't really determine if this is significant or if it's random. So we're just going to say, okay, there seem to be about the same proportion of males and females coming from fitness influencers. However, looking at the beauty influencer, there's a higher percentage of females than males coming from a beauty influencer. That makes sense. Food category seems like a really high proportion of males coming from females. Probably wouldn't expect that huge difference. Maybe the type of food bloggers we have are more geared toward the male customer. I don't know. Gamers, we have a higher proportion of males than females coming from gamer influencers. You would think that, actually, but it turns out this is not significant. And you might say, like, why on earth is this not significant? There's 88% versus 11%. If I look here at the gamer, it says that there's 9 data points here. So there's only 9 people here, which means there's like 1 person here and 8 here, really. And so there's a low sample. That's why there's a high likelihood that this is due to chance. There's a low sample right there. Same thing here, low sample there. Now, I may want to ask, is there a higher proportion of males coming from food bloggers than a higher proportion of males coming from gamers? You know, that seems like high here. Again, this is not statistically significant, but it seems like there's a higher proportion here than among food bloggers than gamers. So I may want to know, okay, is this a statistically significant difference here? And so if I pop over here to pairwise comparison, if I'm wondering about males, I'm going to switch this over to male. And these are going to compare these different categories. So if my question was between food blogger and gamer, I'd want to come over to where it shows food blogger and gamer and see, okay, no, these don't, the proportion of males coming from food bloggers does not significantly differ from the proportion of males coming from gamers. So these are about the same. And again, it could be because there's just a low sample size here. So I can see here that food bloggers, the proportion of males among food bloggers, that significantly differs from beauty influencers, fitness influencers, and lifestyle creators, but not from gamers. These proportions are not statistically different. They're kind of the same. If I wanted to look at lifestyle creators, here it only significantly differs from food bloggers, okay? So with lifestyle creators, this proportion doesn't differ from gamers, it doesn't differ from fitness influencers, it doesn't significantly differ from beauty influencers. Lifestyle creators, the proportion of males versus females only significantly differs from food bloggers. So that's how a pairwise comparison table works in this case. This is a fun case because I'm seeing that there is a relationship between influencer category and repeat purchase. That's significant. But if I look down here at this table, the only things that are really popping out is this category seems to be lower. There seems to be a smaller percentage of frequent buyers here than what would be expected. And there seems to be a higher proportion of occasional buyers among the fitness influencers than what would be expected. Now, if I wanted to know, okay, do these proportions coming from a fitness influencer, do they significantly differ from these other categories? I could go to show pairwise comparison table, and we'd see no, they don't significantly differ, but this is just for the first time buyer, okay? So none of these significantly stand out. So if I go from first-time buyer, let's go to this one seemed to stand out. So let's go to frequent buyer. And what do we see here? Fitness influencer. Okay, this proportion of frequent buyers, this does significantly differ from beauty influencers and from lifestyle influencers. Okay, so it's significantly less than this one and this one. All right, and that's even in the case that this seems to have the highest percentage of frequent buyers, but again, there's only 9 people in this category. So there's not a huge sample. So this one, it's hurting the significance behind this one. And then if I wanted to check occasional buyers for fitness influencers, it looks like that only significantly differed from the gamers. So this difference is large enough that even though there's only 9 people coming from gamer influencers, these two do significantly differ from one another. So I understand that might be a lot to take in, but in this assignment, we're going to run through some examples, and I'm sure you'll get the hang of it. But just make sure to reach out to me if you are stuck on something.